welcome back to So This is Thailand. I'm Johan Wimonchalau, Swadee krap.
I'm Tapani Manavet, สวัสดีค่ะ
And I'm Belinda Skinner. Swadika.
Well, as you may notice, Dr. Valerie is out for the next couple days, but we do have a familiar face from Expat Lifestyle joining us, the incomparable Miss Belinda Skinner.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be in the studio? We always see you out and about and...
Actually, it's quite good, yeah. I'm really enjoying it. It's a different scene. I do like going out and about, but in this kind of weather, it's much better to be in the studio, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Inside, dry, with the air conditioning as well.
Oh, yes, please.
Well, speaking of the weather, I don't know whether you get to out and drive around. I know you're driving around, but the recent rain just wreaks havoc with the traffic out there.
I do notice that I've been spending a very, very large proportion of my day in the car, being stuck and not going many plaplaces.
It's very frustrating. I find it, you can't tell how long you're going to get there. You want to go 15 minutes or half an hour. It takes you 2 hours to get anywhere, and it's really frustrating. But it happens every time, this time of year.
But my question is, why does it always rain at the end of the day, right before people go home?
Like clockwork, right before rush hour.
Oh, it's killer.
Yeah.
They know. It's the same with lunchtime.
Yes.
It's about 12 o'clock, starting to feel hungry. I think I'll go out. Boosh, down comes the rain.
Well, I think for anyone who lives here in Bangkok, one thing during this rainy season, or two things you need during the rainy season is an umbrella, obviously. And if you're driving, you need a book because you'll be spending lots of time sitting in the car.
Absolutely.
And my mom has recently started putting very, very dirty flip-flops in my car so that I can wear them and wade through the water.
I carry a pair in my bag, and it always looks good when you're wearing a suit and you have a pair of flip-flops on as well. It's the Thailand winter look.
Yeah.
Well, for the talk of the town at the top of the news, it's related to what we were just talking about. It's about traffic. Now, I know a lot of you are frustrated at how do you know where the traffic is? Well, beyond those huge billboards that we see out there, I know you're familiar with them, where you see the green and unfortunately the bad red parts at the end of the day and the yellow. Believe it or not, NetTech, which is the National Research Center here off of NASTA, which is the National Science and Technology Development Agency, have developed the second version of a mobile app which tells you exactly where the traffic is.
Wow, that sounds really exciting.
It's very cool. Have you ever used it?
I used, I think, the old version, and as far as I remember, it runs off a feed a little bit like Twitter. So people upload their comments at where they are and whether there's traffic. So it's very live and really current, so really useful.
Well, I had actually interviewed them on a past program years ago when the first version came out, and it's called FM 91 Bangkok, BKK, which makes sense because most of the traffic reports up to this point were through the radio. But the great thing about this second version of the application is now it's taking advantage of a lot of the technology which is showing up in the mobile devices. So you have the GPS, you have 3G, we hope. But as a lot of the other things in the city kind of coalesce together, you have the CCTVs, you have the police reports as well. And as Tara said, if there's accidents, if there's detours, if there's any type of emergency or even a crime, you'll get updates on this application.
Yeah, so what happened in the old one, and I'm assuming the new one is much better, is someone sitting in a traffic queue will be like, there's a 3-car pileup on this road, don't come here. So it works.
So will the application, do you think it'll be in English as well, or is this a Thai application?
Well, the good thing, I believe, if I remember correctly, the original one did have English in it, but it's all very graphical. So you can see it's modeled right after those huge signs you see on the road. Obviously the green, traffic is flowing. If it's yellow, it's starting to slow down. Red, avoid it at all costs, especially when it rains.
And actually you can zoom out as well. It's a bit like a map. And if you zoom out far enough, you can actually see the whole grid and kind of see where the green bits are, and if they join up together, you can go that way.
Oh, I like that idea. Actually, because if you don't drive, rather than having on your sat-nav, but if you've got it on your application on your iPhone or any other application like that, if I take a taxi, I know now if the taxi drivers are saying, no, I don't want to go there because, traffic and I'm not taking you there, you can say, no, it's not. It's all green routes. It's all green routes.
But
I like
the taxi
that.
drivers never listen to you anyway.
No,
They
that's true.
They know best. All right, well, taking a look next at Don Mueang Airport and the developments happening there. As you know, the Air Asia and a lot of low-cost airlines will be migrating there at the start of October. King Power has won the bid to do the duty-free shopping at Don Mueang Airport, and they have joined hands with the Mall Group also, who will be providing the food beverage service there. And they're working together. According to reports, King Power has outbid their rivals by about 50%. So they got the contract for the next 10 years to come.
Well, I don't think there was any question whether they would actually win the concession given their strength in the other areas.
No surprise.
They were up against some very strong contenders, and for example, Central Group.
Central Group
They
as well.
managed to beat Central Group, which is pretty amazing.
Well, I know looking
strong.
at, in tradition when you have airports, duty free is, we hope, it's supposed to be a boon for all the travelers passing through the airports. But having the Mall Group there really adds that additional benefit. Because I know usually there's limited selections. One duty shop, you go walk down another part of the terminal. It's the same items really.
Right.
So hopefully having the Mall Group there, having more choices in terms of, you mentioned, food and beverages, and hopefully even if you could make purchases, in the Mall Group outside of the airport and perhaps pick them up when you get there, would make that whole VIT process much, much easier.
I'd like that. In Australia, we actually have the duty free is outside. It's in the city, so you can go around. There's like 5 or 6, and you also know then there's competition. There's no monopoly, and so you can go shopping in the city, and you can pick it up within a couple of days, and then take it into the airport. And it's just streamlines everything, so it'll be good, like you're suggesting with the Mall Group doing that too, so hopefully they might do that.
At the moment you can already do that with King Power, but there's only one outlet near Rang Nam Road where you can actually go and pick stuff ahead of time and then pick it up there.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Oh.
I only thought it was only at the airport. You learn something new every day. Good.
Who knows, we might even have a little scoop on that in the future. Well, sticking with airlines, believe it or not, Thai Airways has extended the age limit for their flight attendants, until the age of 60. Traditionally, it's been 45 when they start to retire people, but for outsourced employees and air attendants, they've extended that age to be 60. The reason being, well, there's several reasons, in fact. One, they're looking to expand their fleet. Obviously, we've been covering a lot of stories where they have new airlines, new planes, and new planes coming in as well. Hopefully opening new routes around the region, internationally as well, as they have longer haul aircraft. And they're trying to keep that history, that experience there, I think.
I actually quite like that. I know then, on some airlines, people like the young girl, the flight attendants, and it's really nice. But personally, I was very pleased to hear that the age limit has increased, because if anything goes wrong, I would sooner have a very calm, mature flight attendant speaking on the PA telling me where to go, what to do, or yelling at me because I'm in a panic, rather than having some very young, 22-year-old girl in a panic herself. I think a balance. I think it requires a balance.
Well, I've flown a couple of times in the United States, and the airline attendants there are quite substantially older. And I did like it in a way because it was very kind of motherly and they were really nice to me. And as you say, they probably have loads of experience and know what to do.
Well, just some statistics they're looking at, the cabin factor, that's how many passengers are actually on the plane. That's increasing year by year. So even though if you look worldwide, there was obviously a slump in the U.S. in terms of air flights, but here in Thailand, things are picking up, especially with the AEC coming up. You're going to see a lot more business flights, I expect. So all in all, it seems to be a good thing.
I think it's a very good thing.
Well, the National Security Council has announced that they will be repatriating around 120,000 Burmese refugees who have migrated here during the military rule in Myanmar. And now that there's hope of democratic developments happening in Myanmar, they are hoping to take those refugees and put them back in their own countries. At the moment, they're camped along Thailand's borders, and the count, as I mentioned before, 120,000 of them, and more actually, because as with these situations, the real numbers never actually come up. They're in talks with the Myanmar government to provide training camps and more jobs once the refugees return home. And that is set to happen over the next year or so. So Thailand will be closing down camps at the border, and hopefully Burma will be opening more in their own borders.
Oh, well, that's really pleasing, because you do see that Myanmar is really moving along. There's a lot of construction going on. There's a lot of business now starting to actually looking and investing in Myanmar. So the development seems to be going quite well.
Right. There was also talks of Thai-Myanmar joint cooperation where they will open industrial estates and take those refugees back into those estates to provide them with work and training. So, yeah, that's the plan.
Well, even if you just look at, being a refugee means that you were forcibly displaced. It's not a situation that anyone from any country would want to be in. And a lot of the times the conditions, these, you might call them internment camps, they're not up to standard, up to par, and especially along the border. Medical services especially, very difficult to get there. So it's good that because you have, as you mentioned, you have these democratic changes in Myanmar, people are able to go back home, be reunited with their families, see less of a conflict going on there. It's better for the region. It's not just for Myanmar, it's better for Thailand, it's better for everyone.
Yeah, actually, since it's been mentioned by human rights groups that Thailand hasn't ratified the 1951 Refugee Convention. So what happens when these refugees end up here is that their rights are not actually guaranteed. They can be exploited, they can be held, detained by police without recognizing the rights that actually globally they may have at other places. So for them to return home and be entitled to some sort of rights is actually better than them being here.
Absolutely. Well, that is the talk of the town for today. Now, coming up, I believe you know what Valerie
I do. I'm in the know. I'm in the know. So stay tuned, because Valerie is going to interview a very interesting man. He's a European who's an architect, and he's gone into medical science. Now, this is really innovative, how would you say, non-invasive technology for burn victims and for diabetes. But I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it. So stay tuned with us, and you'll hear Valerie talk about it very soon.